Yeah, this has been going on for just over a year, and the people, the attorneys, the law professors, the lobbyists, the fellow native Orlando residents that I've talked to about this have just been flabbergasted at what a weird, wild fight this has been.
It's like a Disney ride in full horror. What brought Disney to Ron DeSantis's radar if we go back to where it started?
It's one of those things where it seemed like such a small thing that has blown up into a nuclear war. There was a bill last year called the Parental Education Bill. It was commonly called the Don't Say Gay bill by a lot of the critics in the press. And it restricted what subjects could be taught at different elementary school levels. And this bill was criticized by a lot of different groups. Disney was not the only one, and they were actually really late to the game. There were thousands of different groups that criticized the bill with very strong language before it passed. What Disney did is, after the bill passed, the then CEO, Bob Chapek, sent out a press release saying, basically, we don't like this bill and we're going to do everything we can to get it repealed. But the press release had no teeth to it. There has been no follow-up action. They have nothing to do with the legal challenges to the bill. There were liberal groups and LGBTQ groups that had already fundraised and secured pro bono attorneys. They had nothing to do with any of it. It was this silly press release that accomplished nothing, but it did get them on Governor DeSantis's radar and give him an excuse to put a bullseye on the company.
Yeah. Now, they operate in what's called a special taxing district. Now, Republicans have argued this is one of the reasons why they needed to go after them, because it favours them, does it?
It's a complicated situation because Disney is unique in what they have done for Florida and also in the amount of land that they control. They bought the land in the 1960s. I'm a native Orlando resident. My parents were here as kids, so they were here pre-Disney. When Walt Disney came and toured Central Florida, that land was swampland, a couple cows wandering around. It was nothing. It stretches across 2 counties. It's over 25,000 acres. Both counties said at the time that we cannot come anywhere close to providing the infrastructure. We don't have the funds or staff or ability to build roads or power lines and water and sewer and all the things that you need for a functioning park. And what happened is that the Reedy Creek Improvement District was created so that Disney would be, in essence, applying an extra tax to itself to cover all of those costs. So, there's been some misperceptions about this, that it's some sort of special sweetheart deal or it's a tax break for Disney. To the contrary, it's an extra tax. The Florida Constitution requires that all county taxpayers must be taxed at the same percentage rate. If I house that's worth $200,000 and you have a house that's worth $1 million, we'll both pay the same percentage, but you'll pay more. So it's the same thing. Disney's 25,000 acres. They pay the taxes to Orange and Osceola County, and then they pay an additional tax to the Reedy Creek Improvement District. And that covers a lot of things. Disney has power plants. They do their water and sewage treatment. It's all the environmental stuff. It's road construction and maintenance. It's landscaping. They run a fire department and EMT. There's a lot of different things that they do. And they also are maintaining things at a higher level than the government would be able to. I grew up in unincorporated Orange County. My parents had a pothole at the end of their street last year that took months to fix, and the pothole patch is already crumbling. You never see potholes on Disney roads. The locals joke all the time that we'd like Mickey to take over our highways. So that's what this special taxing district has been doing.
Yeah. So
and the comparisons, yeah.
So then, in a way, DeSantis's target is really hurting his own finances if he wanted to, sort of change things. He even tried to take over control of the board, stacking it with some, Republican supporters. That seemed to backfire as well.
Yeah, and this was, all along, the critics of this move have said that it is a violation of the First Amendment, the free speech rights under both the Florida and United States constitutions. if the government has the right to do something, which I and many other legal observers have said this is illegal under Florida statutes because he does not have the consent of the landowners, even if it is legal, the government is not allowed to retaliate against you for the exercise speech, which is exactly what's happening here. They've been very blatant about it. They've said that they need to get Disney in line and these woke California values. So what happened is they could not repeal the Reedy Creek Improvement District outright because there's over $1 billion in outstanding municipal bond debt that would have then fallen on the county taxpayers, and that would have been politically disadvantageous. So what he did is they passed a statute that, again, I argue is unconstitutional, and it trimmed away a couple of the powers around the edges of the district and gave the governor the power to appoint the board. The people that he appointed, I know a few of them, none of them have any, theme park land use experience, and a number of them were openly saying, oh, we're going to get Disney in line. And it's also just sort of weird. Like if Disney has a gay character in the next movie, are you going to not approve a building permit? But what Disney did is before the statute came into effect, they entered into what's called a development agreement, which is a very common legal thing. If you bought a parcel of land and we're going to develop it into an apartment complex or a subdivision, there would frequently be in a development agreement that was tied to the land that would restrict its use and certain changes. So Disney and the Reedy Creek Improvement District entered into those. They did it in a publicly noticed meeting that was open to the public. It was part of the public records. They passed the agreement with a proper vote, and they recorded it in the county records. This was all done months ago. It was there were reporters at that meeting. So the fact that the governor and his puppet board acted like it was some sort of surprise, it just shows that they have no experience in this area, and it's incompetence. Punishing Disney.
Yeah, look, and they're being sort of trumped at their own game, and using that word is deliberate because, of course, these two are battling it out, and Trump thinks he's got the edge on DeSantis in terms of the Republican nomination. Is this beef with Disney improving DeSantis's popularity?
Some of the education reforms that he passed did poll well with voters, but DeSantis's message all this time has been, I'm the no drama guy, I'm the competent executive. You can get the base with me without all the craziness. But this bonkers unconstitutional war with Disney is the exact definition. And the theatrics on this, you mentioned that he threatened to build a state prison next to the park. I mean, are you saying that you wouldn't manage the prison competently so the dangerous people would get out and terrorize the Disney guest? I mean, it's just a very weird thing to say.
Perhaps the prisoners could do some sort of extra help or sort of prison duty at Disneyland. Oh, it just gets more and more absurd. But thanks so much for explaining some of the drama to us. Great to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
You too.